I'm Dr. Kevin Harvey and I'm a lecturer in sociolinguistics. Well, I'm involved in research that looks at the language used by young adults to talk about health and illness, and specifically online communication. I've been looking at a website which is run by paediatricians and a GP, which provides bespoke advice and information for young people who may be reluctant to go and see their doctor. I'm interested in what the language they use tells us about their attitude and beliefs about health and illness. And I collected about 1 million words of data of language, of these emails sent into the website. And 1 million words of information looks a bit like this. Here we have books, textbooks, which roughly, crudely, is 1 million words. So that's the amount of data I've been scouring systematically to identify these patterns of language. All these messages are anonymous and can't be traced back to the contributors. It's a massive job and I'm not bionic, but fortunately we have various programs that enable us to process all this data very quickly and efficiently. A corpus program. Well, a corpus is a posh word really for it means body, and in this case it means a body, a collection of words, and a corpus program will help you interrogate lots of words on a computer. On the screen here we have what we call a word list. Depression and mental health concerns were quite prominent in the health email, so I wanted to pursue them further. Here we have various spellings, misspellings of the idea, the word depression and depressed. This column here gives the frequency of the words, how often they occur. If I click here, I can look at this word in a bit more detail, because looking just simply at how much a word occurs doesn't provide us with much information. We want to know what's going on in the message. This is what's called a concordance line. It's essentially a key word, the word I've chosen, stacked upon itself many, many times, and we can see the original text from which these words are situated. And what you'll notice, of course, that there are words like feeling and feel that relate very closely to depressed. Words that appear commonly next to words are called collocates. This is the idea of collocation, one thing occurring next to another frequently. Well, just looking down the line, just scanning down the line, you can see that the word really occurs quite a lot. Clinically, really again, so. These words are what are called intensifiers. They ratchet up, they intensify, they modify words. And what's happening here is that the emailers are trying, one assumes, to make their concerns seem very important, significant. They want to get the attention of the doctor. What's interesting here is that when people talk about depressed, they often talk about I am depressed. They use the verb to be. She's depressed, she is depressed. There tends to be, however, a reaction, a reason for the depression. So we get people talking about being bullied at school, having difficulty with their friends, and that's causing them to feel depressed, to feel a little bit down. If we choose the word depression, which is another common word, a different picture emerges, and people say, I have depression, and that's different, of course, from to be depressed. But what is significant is that when people talk about depression, generally there's this idea that the condition is clinical, and that's borne about by the language they use. So we get reference to words such as symptoms, anxiety, dizziness, Prozac, clinical, serious. So here we have what we call a keyword selection. These are these words that you can see on the right, for example, let's say sex, depression, anorexia, drugs, cancer are what we call key words. These are words that occur frequently, so they are a good indication of some of the significant themes, the common themes that people are interested in. At first it was rather startling, but one becomes utterly dispassionate, and effectively this is just research. So it can be quite uncomfortable, especially when you are looking at mental health concerns and people talking about suicide and self-harm and going through these messages, because there are human lives at the end of these messages. I think it's been very it's been fascinating work, but also it has practical relevance, principally because we know comparatively little about people's experiences of health and illness and how people talk about health and illness. So by looking, as I say, closely at these patterns, one can see broader sociological and cultural pictures emerging.